Welcome to Shifting to Grudge from to Grit, Grace, and Gratitude, rather. And I'm going to be in gratitude that some of my tech is working today and none of the others. For those that are joining us on Instagram and YouTube, thank you for also being here with us. We are so excited to have Samantha all the way from Texas join us. Welcome, Jamila, my amazing co-host who shows up consistently holding this space alongside me every week. So I'm going to over to you and then I'll read Samantha's bio afterwards.
Thank you, Anissa, as always, for that lovely, lovely welcome. And a big, big welcome to Samantha, our guest for this week. And a happy new year to everyone. It's quickly getting on with January. Before you know it, I think we'll be looking at the end of January. I can't believe how quickly it's gone already, but wishing everyone a prosperous year, a happy year, a healthy year, and a year full of love and light. So again, welcome Samantha and Anissa. I think maybe let's take it away and share this impressive bio of our guest today.
So I first want to give the caption of our theme topic today: silent pain, loud healing, finding a voice after betrayal. I mean, if that doesn't catch you, then I don't know what else will. That in and of itself is powerful. Samantha was born and raised in Canada, moved to Texas in the early 1990s, where she built a life filled with love and purpose as a mother of six and grandmother of four. Her world was shattered when she uncovered her husband's secret life of infidelity. In the aftermath, she felt lost and alone, desperately needing the same support she had always offered to others. In her darkest moments, Samantha turned to journaling as a way to process her pain. The journey of healing led to the creation of her book, Deceptive Liaisons. Another nice title. A survival guide for anyone facing similar betrayal. She's currently training to become a certified PBT, post betrayal transformation coach, driven by her belief that transformation is essential for recovery. Her mission is to help others navigate the devastation of betrayal trauma. She emphasizes the importance of self care and emotional safety during the early stages of healing, offering guidance on what to do and what to avoid after experiencing betrayal. Having witnessed both the damage and the incredible healing that can follow, Samantha is dedicated to empowering others to rise stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. Without further ado, this is your space. Please share with us more depth of this very powerful, profound story of yours.
Wow, thank you for the introduction, and I'm so grateful to be here. I have to share my story by going back about 5.5 years. I was living in tropical paradise in Hawaii. Lived there for about 4 years, and 3 years in, by that time I had made friends, I had a great job, and was just loving paradise. And it was the morning of my birthday, 3 years into living there, and I couldn't sleep. Something was just gnawing at me. And so I went downstairs to watch a little TV, just mindless stuff. And a thought came into my head, check his email. And I'm like, why would I do that? I've never snooped before. I've never had the need to. But he had also a really bad porn addiction. So I thought, well, I just want to see what sites he's been on and what he's been up to, because he talked about getting help for it. And just wanted to see where he was in that. So I entered his Yahoo email. And then I thought, well, I don't know his password, so how am I going to get in? And first guess, I got in and score. Woohoo! I was excited. I was like, ooh, I'm not going to tell him this, but because I was feeling a little guilty, but I wanted to see what was there. And so I'm scrolling through the email, and everything looks normal at first. Emails between him and myself, work, friends, nothing unusual until I clicked archive. The first email was a reservation for Phoenix, where he had been on a business trip the week before. But the second reservation for a hotel that I clicked on was the following night, reservation for 2 queen bed at a beachfront hotel in Waikiki. And I was just immediately in a bit of shock. And I thought, something must be wrong here. It might be a surprise for my birthday. I don't know. But at the same time, he had asked to go out for drinks with friends after work the following night. So I was confused. And we had already celebrated my birthday. He made it a weekend affair, sent me flowers to work, got me gifts, and we were going to go out for dinner that evening. But the following evening still left me kind of stumped. So I got ready for work after a while of tossing and turning, and made coffee and brought it to him. And he said, thanks, babe. And I kind of went, you're welcome, a little sheepishly. And he said, what's wrong? Is everything okay? And I paused for a moment and I said, are you having an affair on me? And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, no, babe, I would never, ever do that. I love you way too much. And inside, I'm still thinking, what I saw was not quite right, but I still hadn't hit that really was happening. So I went to work and was the first one there. And the night before, they had put streamers, balloons, gifts all around my desk. And I was like, I don't feel like celebrating. I'm not feeling that, right. So I went into the email again and trying to hold back tears and putting, drops in my eyes so they don't look so red. And I looked at the archive again. Well, the reservation that he had in Phoenix, I looked at it closely. It wasn't in Phoenix at all. It was a beachfront resort hotel for 2 in Kaneohe, Hawaii, on the same island that I was the entire time. So I knew at that moment that he was having what I thought was one affair. Turned out to be quite a few more after some detective work. But my coworker came in and she saw something in my eyes, I guess, and she said, "Is everything okay?" And I just burst into tears. That was kind of the floodgates started. And I said, "My husband is having an affair on me," and she just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. She's like, "How could he send you flowers? He's so sweet. He's loving." Da da da. And at that point, I just needed to leave. Don't remember the drive home, but when I got home, I was sitting out back on the lanai, kind of just staring off into space, barely moving. And the phone rang. I let it go to voicemail a couple of times. It was him. And then finally I answered it. And he said, "Hi, babe. I tried to call you at work, but they said you went home." I said, "Yeah, I couldn't sleep well last night, not feeling too great. So I decided to take the day off." And he's like, "Are you sure nothing else is wrong?" I decided to take another opportunity to ask him. And I said, "Are you having an affair on me?" And this time his response was almost a little bit angry. Like, "Babe, why are you even talking about this? Where are you getting this from? I would never do that. I love you way too much. We need to stop this." And then I just lost it and I blurted it out and I said, "I know you weren't in Phoenix last week. I know you were in Kaneohe with her, and I know you're going to see her again tomorrow night." And there was what it felt like to me an endless pause. And even though it was maybe only 5 seconds, but that was the confirmation that I knew that what I had uncovered was the truth. He was indeed having an affair.
Wow.
And at that point, I just lost it. I fell to the ground. I went into complete shock, almost an out of body experience, began weeping and blurting out things like, "Who is she? Where did you meet? How long?" And it just kept going on and on. I don't remember much about it other than it felt like I was up in the corner of the room looking down at this body crumbled in a fetal position on the floor, weeping.
Mm. Mm. I'm so sorry that you had to experience that. Um, you wouldn't wish it on anyone, and I think that upon on finding out about it, it's almost as if this cold fever engulfs your whole body, and like you said, it's like an out of body experience, because it's the last thing that you expect. um, what happened from that point onwards with regards to, I know that you had the proof in front of you, but one of the coping mechanisms is to kind of just block it out and act as if it just never happened, so you don't have to deal with it. What was your next steps in coping with this?
Yeah, you're right. Your mind, it just, it's like what I was hearing and what my heart felt didn't match. So it was like I wanted to block it out. And my coping mechanism was not very good. I mean, for days, and sometimes hours, I don't remember, and I have a blank spot. And that's where I'm so glad that I journaled, because looking back, I could see not only what had happened and what was going on, but also it kind of tracked my healing progress, which was delayed. I was like doing things that were pausing my healing and trying to uncover the past and looking back instead of looking ahead. And the more I discovered, because at this point I'm a detective, I'm looking for things, and it took 8 different D days, which is a day of discovery. First discovery being when you first find out, and so 8 different times over a year's time, I found out that he not only was having one affair, but over a dozen affairs with sugar babies, escorts, and prostitutes. And he would never share the information with me. Always when I uncovered more information and would, call him on it. And then there were times that he gave me too much information. For instance, he shared with me on one of his business trips, actually 2 of his business trips, when he went to New Zealand. He said, yeah, I slept with someone there, but it's legal and I had to use a condom, as if to say that would make me feel better. And it certainly didn't make me feel worse. And then he proceeds to tell me, yes, I got to interview 6 different women, takes me to the website and shows me a picture of this 19-year-old girl, younger than our daughter, that he slept with there. And it was like devastation after devastation after devastation. So it took me a long time, because if you have trickle truths, it puts you right back from the beginning of where you felt that, initial pain, and you can't move forward because you don't know what's the truth and what's a lie. But there were, so I thought for a very long time, no signs. But when you trust someone completely and 100%, you're not looking for signs. You want to see the good in the person. You take them for their word. And I believed everything that he had told me, from, going for drinks after work to business trips, because he took a lot of them on different trips and excursions, designer shopping sprees, spent money on, every time they had sex. And it not only was there physical infidelity, there was financial infidelity, because I uncovered that our entire retirement savings was depleted, from having a house that was paid for to finding out he could refinance the mortgage and use the equity for his shenanigans. Was devastating on top of everything, because the agreement was he took care of the finances and my salary would go towards retirement. And we were in a good place to retire when we wanted to, until he spent it all.
Samantha, this is quite a story that many women are probably experiencing the world over. So I just want to say thank you for your courage in coming forward with such a vulnerable story. There are so many parts to this with the multiple betrayals that I'm still processing all that you're sharing right now in this moment. What I'd like to ask you though, because whilst there are these different stages of grief, um, there's also you start to introspect and say, what was my role in this? Am I to blame? Did I contribute to this? Am I not good enough or worthy enough? Have I made him turn to everyone else? How did you actually, you know, process that part and discern between what was yours to own versus no, this is all on him?
Yeah, that's a great question because it really took a toll on my self-esteem. And the women that he selected were beautiful women, aged 19 to 29, very young, very, petite, in shape. I thought I was somewhat in shape for being in my 50s. And I turned from feeling good about myself to feeling bad about myself, looking in the mirror and not liking what I saw, comparing every body part to these beautiful young women who were in their 20s, which was ridiculous, to realizing that no matter what I did or said, this was his problem, not my problem.
Hmm.
And the more I looked at it, I realized that I was kind of sad for him because none of these women would have been with him had he not been paying them initially. So that's a real lonely place, I think, for someone to seek love and not receive it really wholeheartedly in the way that love should be received unconditionally. There were so many conditions tied to his affairs that I felt sorry for him. And then I realized that, there are a lot of choices he had to make in setting up his profile on these sleazy dating sites, booking flights, hotels, and sneaking around and the lies. There were a lot of choices, and those were his choices, not mine. So I'm not to blame for someone else's choices. So that took me a while to realize that it wasn't my fault and it's never your fault. There is no reason that you should have an affair while you're married. If you've committed to your vows, um, get a divorce, be single, go on. But I was in such shock and disbelief because he hid this double life from everyone around him. Everyone was surprised and shocked. And I made him tell our adult children who were quite devastated as well. They experienced betrayal. And a lot of people were affected and saddened by what he had done because, for instance, my children, the family unit that they knew and loved was now breaking apart, and it affected them.
I wanted to ask something in as a follow-up to that. It sounds like there was a stage where you resented him, so the grudge state, like how could you do this to me? And then there was this shift where you had more empathy and you could actually extend grace because you started to realize this is a wounded individual. And so at what point did that happen? It
Um,
was it in that same year or did it take several years?
it took a while, but you're right about me constantly asking, "How could you?" That was always the question in the back of my mind. How could you? And it took a long time for again my brain and my heart to meet. It was almost like I'm still in denial. I'm hearing all of this, but it's so unreal. I can't grasp everything that I'm taking in. And I was hanging on to a lot of anger and bitterness that was, causing a lot of illnesses physically, mentally, emotionally. And I decided that I needed to forgive him. I loved him so much and I wanted this marriage to work. And we went to counseling and therapy, both together and separately. And, he joined a group that was for porn addiction, because that's kind of what led to him. I mean, the dopamine high was not enough from porn. So that's when he went outside and started the physical affairs. And the time when I started to feel sorry for him was about a year and a half later. I found him, this was after all of the D days and all of the truth, as much as I know or wanted to know, after about a year's time. But I found him in a closet, sitting, holding his knees together to his chest, just, oh, I'm almost emotional, just weeping. And I just felt an immediate grace for him. I don't know why I'm crying. I have tissue. I've never cried before. And so, but it's a very happy ending. So, and I just felt compassion for him. And another thing that I did that I think is really important, especially when there are children involved, whether they're adults or not, is don't make them choose. A couple of my children did not want to speak to him for the longest time. And I bridged that gap because number one, I didn't want them to choose. And number two, I reminded them he was and is a great father. And he was always there for them in good times and in bad times. And I reminded them that this is a bad time for him and he needs you and he loves you. And slowly but surely they came around, and they all have a great relationship with him. And that's really the goal, in helping them heal, to not feel like they're in a tug of war.
Powerful stuff.
Thank you so much for sharing that, being so vulnerable with us, Samantha. That really means a lot to us. That you can be so open about it and share this. And like Anissa said, there's lots of women that are going through this. So
Yeah, I
it's
have so much empathy too.
really important topic, and something that will help the next individual to manage her pain and her grief. And I must also commend you on the immense grace that you've been able to show to your ex-husband. And it's not easy to do. It's really not easy to do.
No, but I'm sorry.
Sorry, but like what role do you feel forgiveness plays in your healing journey? And for someone who's going through this, how do you approach it?
It was a highly important role because it actually took away some physical ailments that were bringing me down. And forgiving him actually was easier than I thought. And sometimes I had to forgive him like over again because I feel that resentment come in, and I just like, no, I've forgiven him and we're moving on. But I realized that I had this incredible depression and anxiety. The anxiety was almost like my throat was being, choked off, and I had a difficult time speaking sometimes. The anxiety was so strong. And I realized I was hanging on a lot of resentment to all the affair partners, especially the ones who knew he was married. And I had, I was doing, I had a sketchbook, and I was doing for therapy, just doing some art, like for me, art is like stick people and, nothing fancy. But I drawn a picture of me holding on to these balloons. And there were 15 balloons, and each of them had a name of the affair partner on it. And then below me was a puddle of tears just streaming from my face. And my heart is like, stabbing broken, apart. And I realized I was going to have to forgive them. I'm like, how in the world can you forgive someone like that? And I had my husband go out and buy 15 balloons, red balloons with white string. The reason being was um, the helium actually represented their souls. The red represented, in my belief as a Christian, the blood of Jesus, and that they too can be washed white as snow. Thus, um, the white string. So when he brought them home, I put 15 names down on each balloon, and I took each balloon and I said a forgiveness prayer, naming each of them. And at the end of my forgiveness prayer towards them, I took a pair of scissors. I didn't release the balloons. I thought, I don't want any flights to see all these balloons stacked up. And anyway, I was just thinking safety. And another reason why I did this with the scissors is because, number one, it kind of felt good because I was like, stabbing them and breaking the balloon. But it
Yeah.
wasn't a stab towards them. It was a release of their soul into heaven, releasing their soul that was attached to me up away from me. And it took about 2 hours to go through, and there was a lot of tears and emotion involved in that. And once I was done, I was like feeling my throat. I'm like, where's my anxiety? It was immediately gone. I'm serious about that. And I'm not one of these like, ooh, miracles. I believe miracles happen, but it was like a miracle. And I realized how powerful healing and forgiveness is. And that was just my own little ceremony. Everyone can do it different, but that helped me in releasing them from me so that I could move forward in my healing process.
Mm. I would love to just read some of the comments from Ronald, who's also in the US. He's also one of our regulars. He started off by saying, "This is heartbreaking. My first wife said I did not give a XXXX about her. She was right. Years later, I realized I did not know how to give AX in my deluded mind. In my marriage now, I'm learning my flaws. I'm grateful for these vulnerable sessions. Thank you, Samantha, for courage and grace and resilience. My second marriage has opened my eyes to the reckless life I led." Beautiful comments there. Very heartfelt as always, Ronald. Thank you so much. I would like to also again, when you brought it back to faith and how if we don't walk by faith and lead with prayer, we will be carrying the heavy baggage and weight. And I always know that every person that we judge or the judgments that we pass on, some of those judgments are a reflection of what's also dormant potentially within ourselves. So that was probably a very powerful experience to, say, hold on, if God forgives me and I can be purified, so too can others. And that is, it takes such strength and conviction to be able to do that. So it's for me certainly what I've had to learn. I love that Jamila asked the forgiveness question because you cannot move into a space of grace for others if one you haven't even forgiven yourself in what your role was potentially in co-creating whatever those circumstances were. Not saying you're Samantha, I'm just speaking broadly to the audience, but also knowing that how do we co create? how certain things unfold in our lives. And what it brought you to, amazingly, is this radical forgiveness, compassion, empathy towards others, and bringing your kids into that to say, hold on, we are all imperfectly perfect. We are all flawed. We are never meant to be perfect human beings. I thought that that was so amazing that you did that, and that they now still have a good relationship with him and have not passed judgment. One of the greatest lessons to impart. So I don't really have a question there, but I wanted to just convey that back to you. And today, how are they now? How's that relationship today with dad?
Their relationship is very good. He lives in a different city now, new friends, new wife. He got married 6 months after we divorced, and very, very young. Um, Not as young as my daughter, thankfully. But, apparently she is quite nice. My kids like her, and, I wish them the best. And I, want them to continue to have a good relationship with him. And, they've gone to visit him, some of them, spent time over the holidays. And, I continue to support that.
Amazing. Jamila.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Um, Question, when you're going through this whole process, and you seem to be quite an empath, um, you tend to be people pleasing generally when you're an empath, and you're always considering everyone else's journey and challenges, um, and putting yours on the back burner. How did you manage to choose you and your journey through healing without getting um, engulfed in the sympathy, in the empathy that you were feeling for him? As you mentioned many a time that, you found him in the closet, curled up, sobbing. And that's, it's terrible to witness, I mean, it's terrible to witness or to hear about with someone that you don't know. I can imagine what you must have felt like at that time witnessing it. And as people pleasers, as empathic people, we want to solve the problems, we want to solve everybody else's. How did you make that decision to realize that I need to come first, I need to heal first? Because a lot of women get they fall into that trap of going back into the relationship again, and most times it doesn't work out in their favor, because yes, you might have people who realize that I do have a problem and I've got to work on this, and that it's impacting on the people that I love in a certain way. And then you have those who don't and who continue to repeat those patterns. So how do you put yourself first?
It was actually hard because I isolated for a very long time, almost 3 years that I was in a place of well, I had accepted what had happened at that point. Things were going very well for 3 years, but for 3 years I also was not seeing a lot of people. And so I didn't have really empathy towards anyone. I just felt kind of numb. And 3 years in, he was absolutely wonderful, the best husband. But I was babysitting as well. I had an app that tracked everywhere he was. If he went out for lunch or was with anyone after work, he would always send a picture of who he was with, never other women. And he was just, perfect. Until one day I told him that it was kind of stressful to constantly monitor him, and if I saw him someplace else, it would create a little bit of anxiety. And I realized that I needed to let go of control. So I talked that over with him, and I gave him also my debit card. By that time, I had taken over the finances and was trying to get things back on track. He also had three credit cards that I was unaware of, maxed to 20,000 each. So I was trying to manage that, and also. So I gave him back the card and I said, I want to keep my account and your account separate. I'm going to continue to pay all the bills, but here's my card. Change the password, and I just want to give back control and build a little bit more trust. Because how can you build trust when you're constantly monitoring someone? I think character is how you behave when no one's watching. So I gave back the control, but what he didn't realize, because this time I kind of got a little bit more up here about what's going on, that our account was joint, and even though he changed our account number, I still had access to it. I mean, he changed the password, but my password didn't change. So I had access to see what was going on. I was no longer using the account, but within a week of me and a week before our 20th anniversary, he found a 27-year-old beautiful woman, met her at a hotel, paid her for sex, and on our 20th anniversary, a week later, I served him with divorce papers. I had set boundaries and I realized my self worth at that time. And I was worth way more than what I was getting. And the boundaries have been crossed. And I was going to stick to my guns on those boundaries because I valued myself more than I did before. And he agreed to all the terms, thankfully. And within a year, it was a very easy divorce because, and inexpensive because we agreed to everything. And yeah, I was divorced in January of this year.
Wow. This year, 2025.
Yeah. Almost, well, no, I'm sorry. Last year. I forgot we're in 2025 already. So a year ago.
So it's still pretty fresh, Samantha. It's quite fresh,
Yeah.
wow, I
Yeah,
didn't
but it was a
realize.
year that we were separated before the divorce too. So it's
Okay. Um, s- Anissa, we seem to be having some technical problems
Mm.
with Samantha.
I noticed. It's just, it
I'm back.
comes and goes.
Are
Are
you
you
back?
back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you've
I'm
frozen again,
back now.
Samantha. Okay,
There you
you're
go.
I'm
back
back.
now. Yes.
Oh, I'm back. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we can hear
we
you
can
You
now.
hear
guys
you
are
now. So I'm
okay,
intrigued
good.
to find out. Tell us a bit about deceptive liaisons and how you got to that point of your journey.
Yeah, I was looking back at my journaling, and like I said, it kind of tracked my healing, which was, I was stuck in a rut, so to speak. And I came upon a website that, I had tried reading all kinds of self-help books and tried online courses, but none of them really resonated with me until I found this site called the PBT Institute, where they had a free test to see where you were in the healing process. And the score was from 1 to 5, 1 being you first discovered your betrayal and you're not in a very good place. 5 being you're on the road to healing, you're on the right path, and things are going very well for you, and you're in a happy place. My score was 3, which basically was telling me that, yes, I had accepted, but I was carrying this huge, heavy weight, like a ball and chain around me. I could function, I could get from point A to point B, but it was really heavy and it was exhausting. I was tired all the time. And I realized
It's
ways to go before I fully healed. And
is she again technical difficulties?
just customize. Frozen?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
It comes and goes, Samantha. We can hear you and then it goes away.
Oh, that's odd.
I
Can you
think
hear
you
me
did
now?
Yes.
You're good now. Yes.
Okay. What about, where did I end off?
The different stages of the grief, and that's where you were tracking it based on that assessment. That's the last I heard.
Yeah, so the courses are basically tailored for you based on where you were. Like, I wouldn't take courses that, if I was a number 3, I wouldn't take number 1's courses because they just discovered. So the courses were tailored to where you were on that score. And I took every course that I could imagine taking. And the more I took, the more I realized that I was in a rut. And I also, once I finished the courses, decided when I look back at my journaling that I wanted to share with other people the things that I did wrong, because I did so many things wrong to delay my healing. I mean, it took me 3 years before I took that road to, healing. And I didn't want others to feel, to do the wrong things that I did. So I wanted to offer hope for healing and let others know that they're not alone, because it's so isolating. You feel so alone. And I wanted to offer that in my book, which reads as a suspense novel, but it's also kind of a help guide of what to do and what not to do to help you in your healing. And that's pretty much what started the book. I took a lot of my journaling and turned them into chapters.
Oh, wow. But so let me ask you this. So we're talking about infidelity, right? But your book, does it tailor only for that context or anywhere where you were betrayed? Whether it's a relationship, work, or a friend, etc., etc. So does the support in the book guide those that want to access your book for any other type of healing other than infidelity?
Yeah, it's infidelity. It's
Oh dear.
Oh, we've lost her.
betrayed by family members, and it's actually a guide geared towards. And I'm first going to say, infidelity has no gender bias. It can happen to both men and women. And I, however, have my experience. I'm sharing it as a woman. So what I love again about the PBT Institute, they offer courses for men as well, along with everyone, including Dr. Debbie, who created the courses and the website, has experienced betrayal in one form or another. And there are courses for both men and women. And again, I share from my perspective as a woman, but I know it happens to both men and women. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but
Yes, it did. It did. Thank you. So it's vast. What I'm hearing you say, these courses enabled you to sort of access parts of yourself where you were in your grief phases, and based on that, your book really was designed around your own healing process and some of the lessons and learnings from these courses.
Yeah, including the financial infidelity. I
Yeah.
address that as well. Yeah. And
That's quite an interesting one because now that you've labeled it, now I can actually say that I also went through that and with my marriage, but I never could quite label it. And, sitting here now and listening to you speak, we underestimate because you were still wanting to take care of the bills after the infidelity. You were still taking ownership and accountability in the same way that I did. So I'm not passing judgment here. But I certainly didn't have a language for this until you gave it to me. So that's quite empowering for others out there that might not even be aware that there is such a thing as financial infidelity. What
yeah, and
else do we
it's
need to know? What else do we need to know that we need to have? I don't like labels and constructs and forms, but we need to be able to connect the dots that there is something like this.
well, I like to share, especially with anyone who has first experienced betrayal trauma, they're overwhelmed and overthinking. So I don't want to add any overwhelming, do this, do that, do this, do that, you gotta do this. So there are three things in the beginning that I like to recommend and suggest to do and what not to do. Number one is you need to talk to someone. Find a good therapist. If you need to go to your pastor, they have, references they can refer you to counseling and therapy. That's what I did because I wanted to get in to talk to someone quickly who recommended us to a marriage counselor. And I also went to a couple of therapists that initially, when I shared my story, they were like, eyes wide open, wanting, like I was like their guinea pig or whatever. They were writing everything down because I never heard anything like that before. So when I ended up finding a therapist that was experienced in betrayal, so I could have a connection with them, and they understood that and offered some great insight and suggestions for me that really helped, not only taking the courses but the combination of therapy with my healing. And it was actionable items that she gave me to do, which were very helpful towards my healing.
Mm. Wow.
Oh,
Jamila.
sorry. Number two, I had a moment.
Yes.
Number two is you want to avoid alcohol and cannabis. Now, alcohol, it's a depressant, and you already have a gaping wound. You don't want to add salt to that open wound. It's not a healthy feeling. And it's going to delay your healing. You also want to avoid cannabis. It may or may not give you temporary relief, but the key word is temporary.
Mm.
It's going to delay your healing. And in order to heal, you have to feel, you have to go through those stages of grief. It's okay that you feel depressed and anxious and sad and angry. Those are feelings that you need to experience and go through. If you're cutting those feelings off by using these substances, you're stopping your healing in its tracks. Number three is please do not post your story or what's happened to you on social media anywhere. There are many wonderful private groups that specialize in betrayal that you can join, either on Facebook or and you can also post anonymously if you're not comfortable sharing your story. But these groups allow you an open arena to discuss what's happened. And a lot of the members in the group have experienced what you've gone through, and can offer suggestions for what worked for them. And that's a great arena to share your story, not publicly. It may backfire on you if you do that. And also, if you do want to join a Facebook group, find a trusted friend who's not going to judge. She's just going to, she or he will be there for your emotional support and non-judgmental, and also be there, be your support regardless of whether you choose to stay or leave, and not offer you, well, you should do this, you should do that. Just be there for you. So find that trusted friend. And those are the top 3 things I recommend to do initially.
Okay, amazing. So when it comes to betrayal of this form, where it's a family unit, it's not just betrayal between the spouses, right? It affects the children as well, and the reality is that the kids feel betrayed as well, because they have this idea or understanding of the family unit, and our parents are going to be together, and this is what our life is going to turn out to be. Now, whilst you dealing with all of this betrayal, how is it that you help or assist the kids in understanding and accepting the situation for what it was? And I understand that your kids were much older, but as a therapist and studying this, how would you deal with this with someone who has younger kids?
That's a really great question. I think that there are some things that younger children shouldn't know about. I think there's a time and a place, but when they're young and their brains can't comprehend something like that, I mean, my brain could hardly comprehend it.
Yes.
It's just too soon if you have young children to share with them. I would talk to a therapist or a counselor first and see what they recommend. You can share that, hey, mommy and daddy have gone through some rough times. We're working it out. We want you to know that we both love you no matter what. We're always here for you. And limit what you share initially, and wait. Like I said, do what your therapist recommends. I would suggest holding back until they can understand.
Mm, mm. I think that was a powerful question, because when we do include younger children, we almost parentify them, and it's sad when we do that. And I'm saying we because during my divorce, there was a period of time where I wasn't ever bad mouthing my ex-husband, but there was those moments of vulnerability where I'm thinking I'm sharing quite openly, and yet I mean I'm still processing. So how on earth is the child going to be able to cope with this? And there was no infidelity, but there was my gripes about what didn't happen in the marriage, or what could have happened and didn't happen and should have happened. It is just not fair to the children. And I mean, I take full ownership on my own grief during the time, even though I was the initiator of my divorce. Doesn't mean you initiate the divorce that you're not feeling through that grief as well. So I would really like to ask you, in our closing few minutes that we have remaining, what are you grateful for from this experience? Because we cannot see the gifts and the opportunities that come from the depths of these darkness until we have gone through it and grown through it. What specifically are you grateful for?
Oh gosh, we need another hour. I'm grateful for so much, but mostly I'm grateful. Um, and this is, some people might not understand that, especially if you're not on the other side of healing. But I'm grateful for this experience because it has brought me to a place of like such joy and happiness and contentment, and also a place where, before, I was happy in life before I found out about the infidelity. But I had labels. I was a mother, I was a grandmother, I was an employee, I was a wife, but I didn't really have a purpose. And now I'm living life with a purpose, and that's offering hope for healing and letting others know who have experienced betrayal that they're not alone and there's help out there. And when you're living life with a purpose, it brings you such joy and fulfillment that I'm just so grateful to have had this experience in my life, so I can share with others that there is life on the other side of betrayal, and it's absolutely beautiful.
I'm getting
That's
goosebumps.
really amazing. Taking something that has been so challenging and painful to experience and seeing it in that light as something that's more positive and an experience that you've had that comes with learning from it, which is what we're here to do as souls, and love that you're speaking about purpose and about hope. And maybe you can just share with us quickly as to where you are today, because when we hurt, when we feel betrayed, we tend to put up lots of walls around us and overprotect. Are you open now to possibly meeting someone new in your life? Anissa and I have had this discussion many times before, but it is your path towards healing, right? Is to be able to trust again, to be able to be vulnerable again, and allow yourself the opportunity and possibility to love again and to be loved.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yes. Actually, I like to recommend that you do not begin dating or start looking until you have gone through your healing process. Because if you're going into dating quickly right after, you find out or after you've left, you will have a tendency to make the same mistake twice and choose the wrong person. Once you go through your healing and have given yourself some time, then start looking at that arena. I have most recently started seeing someone. It's about 3 months new, but it's going very well. And I have a different kind of radar now than I used to. I know
Yeah.
signs that I didn't used to before. So I'm definitely open to love, and I would love to be married again. I love being loved, and I love to love.
Oh man, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, that
You
is
know,
good.
I so what I'm getting a sense of here is that there is purpose in pursuit of the pain. And I want to just say that you are definitely a phoenix that have risen from the ashes, not once, but 15 times over, right? And
Oh yeah.
that for me is the most incredible part of our conversation today. And you're sitting here with such peace and grace and contentment and acceptance and this zest for life that is neither exaggerated but is kind of balanced. And the love for self, I think you also, another most pertinent thing, and Jamila and I always talk about this, is the love for self and the acceptance of self, and only then to pursue future partnerships. Because ultimately, it's not about the other person healing you or taking away that wound or completing you, but rather to complement what's already there. So I'm really grateful for today's conversation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for really gracing us with all of this wisdom. And yeah, I hope to see you on here again soon when we follow up on your journey another year from now, potentially.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Um,
that. That'd be awesome. And can I share one more thing? Or
Yes,
sure.
no, of course.
I just wanted to say, just share that my book commercial, the premiere or whatever you want to call it, is going to be on the big screen um, Saturday, January 11th, tomorrow. That would be Eastern time in Times Square, New York. Every
Wow.
45th minute of every hour for 24 hours. So if you want to go live stream to New York, Times Square, you'll see deceptive liaisons every 45th minute
It's
of the hour.
juicy. I'm definitely going to do it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
incredible. Congratulations. That's
yeah.
wonderful.
It's just a short video, but it's a great introduction. So I'm excited about that.
Are you going to have the video somewhere that we could put it into the comments on the LinkedIn page on so people can go watch it afterwards?
Uh, yeah, great idea. I was going to post it on Facebook.
Okay.
Just take, you can
Yeah,
film what's on your phone somehow, some way, and
exactly.
just post it on social media. Yeah.
I'm sure those that are listening in from Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn, I mean, I have also posted on Facebook. I'm happy for you to just put the link down,
Mm.
tell people where they can find you. You can go onto this. I tried to find you on LinkedIn, by the way. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. I wasn't able to find you.
I do not have an account on LinkedIn yet.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but my website is help the number 4 betrayaltrauma.com. There are resources there for different resources for help for healing. And also, you can read a little bit about my book, can order my book. It'll also be on different book platforms like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, soon after the video is played in New York. So, but you can,
Exciting.
yeah, it is.
I'm hoping this is going to become a movie one day because
Movie.
it mirrored,
I'm not
it
saying
mirrored that it
I'm
could be a movie.
going forward with a producer who wants to turn my story into uh, a movie based on a true story movie
Oh,
taken from my
I
book. So
can't
I'm excited about that. It's going to take about a year. I have to work with the producer for about 3 months, creating the movie
wait.
story, and then they with the screenwriter for about 6 more months. So look for the movie next year, I hope.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Well,
Yeah.
Please,
we'll have you on when the movie's released.
yes, yes,
Okay.
definitely, definitely. Do stay with us.
Yeah,
Before
Yes.
just
you leave,
yeah,
we
before
will
you
end. Yeah, do you want to say something, Jamila?
go, yeah, Samantha, I mean, like after this such a heartfelt conversation, and you've been so vulnerable and open and shared with us. And I feel like, whilst the betrayal might have broken you, um, it by no means defines who you are. And I just want to, I mean, it reminds me of a quote that your pain is valid, but so is your power to rise above it. The loudest healing comes when you choose to turn your wounds into wisdom. And that's exactly what you've done, and way, way more than that. So I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for taking this pain and turning it into such wisdom for others to learn from it, and for others. I mean, it's tremendous help. I can't tell you how much of a help it is. And I can resonate with it. I know Anissa is resonating with it. And for sure, I mean, Ronald definitely, this conversation has taken him back, and he's looking within himself as well. And this is what this podcast is all about, is to help us to be better human beings at the end of the day. So thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and we look forward to the movie being released. And we wish you all the best with the book.
Thank you so much. Thank you to both of you. Thank you to your audience. And I look forward to chatting with you again.
Likewise. Do stay on before we go, we'll normally do a debrief with you afterwards, just short for a few minutes. And then thank you for those that have been here on Instagram. I've been typing away, acknowledging your presence and all Ronald's beautiful, heartfelt comments, as well as on LinkedIn. So we appreciate you and we'll see you again next week. Until next week, bye for now.
Bye bye, guys.